Have you ever walked into a gun store and felt like you'd stepped into a scene from a mystery? Shelves overflowing with ammunition, prices finally sensible, and yet silence. What if I told you that the very thing we all hoped for is now what's breaking the market? Stay with me for the next few minutes, and I'll show you the 3 brutal forces that froze ammo sales in 2025 and what a smart shooter is doing about it. Welcome. This is a clear-eyed, no-spin analysis of the gear and trends that actually matter. I'm taking you inside a local gun shop, across supply chain reports and into the garages of everyday shooters. We'll map what happened from the panic surge of 2020 through the production boom that followed, and then we'll peel back the layers to reveal why cheap ammo hasn't resurrected the buying frenzy. Imagine this, a pyramid of 9mm blazer brass priced at roughly 20 cents per round. Blocks of .22 LR at about 5 cents apiece, and not a soul in line. That used to be unthinkable. For context, industry price indexes, ones many pros watch, have cratered from the stratospheric highs of 2021. What you see on the shelf is now reality. Abundant stock and low sticker prices. But abundance alone does not explain the silence. There's more, much more driving this shift. And yes, it's a storm made of 3 massive factors. I'll name them, explain them, and show you practical responses you can use immediately. First factor, the massive panic wave from 2020. Remember it. Empty shelves, frantic buying, and people who bought not a box or two, but entire trunks full of ammunition. The spike in new gun owners that year was historic. They didn't come to buy a range session, they loaded up as if preparing for the end of days. The industry reacted with production on overdrive, plants running around the clock, lines restarted, and new shifts hired just to catch up. But here's the crucial pivot. Once that original surge calmed, those new owners already had their stockpiles. Veterans who had been buying at frantic rates slowed down too. Demand collapsed back toward normal, while production, long lead and expensive to throttle, kept hitting the market. The result? Warehouses full of inventory and a retail floor that looks like supply has outpaced desire. Think of it as a rubber band snapping. The stretch was the panic. The snap is the glut. This leftover overproduction is a primary reason you see cheap ammo on the shelf today. But it's only half the explanation. The second, and perhaps nastiest force, is the economy. Inflation and household debt have tightened budgets across the board. A trip to the range is now a discretionary expense many are cutting. Yes, 20 cents a round is attractive, but when grocery bills, auto repairs and credit card minimums demand immediate cash, even a day at the range starts to look like a luxury. Here's a concrete image. Show up to your local range on a Tuesday afternoon and it's quieter than it used to be. Fewer lanes filled, less clatter of brass, fewer trainees burning rounds. That's not nostalgia talking, that's money. When people choose between a brake job on a pickup and 300 rounds, they pick the truck. And that's where the strategic shooters shine. They're not buying more, they're training smarter. Dry fire practice, using training tools to simulate recoil and trigger control, is exploding in popularity because it reduces live fire costs dramatically. Reloading has come back stronger too, now that components are available and prices make sense. With proper press work, quality 9mm reloads can cost a fraction of factory rounds. If you're serious about staying sharp on a budget, this is the path many now prefer. Loosely put, the shooter economy has bifurcated. Those who still chase boxes at retail, and a growing group that optimizes skill and cost. And that behavior shift is crushing traditional retail velocity. And here is where everything changes. For the third massive force, think of it as a cultural recalibration. The community has lived through the panic cycle, twice, thrice, and we learned the hard lesson. Fear-driven buying is a poor strategy. Instead of sprinting to the register every time a headline spikes, many of us now shrug and keep walking. That change in mindset is seismic. Picture the scene. A headline about a foreign conflict, a news ticker screaming crisis, and people who used to swarm the aisles now scrolling their phones, calm as a range officer on a slow night. Why? because they saw that supply chain breaks healed. They saw inventories refill. They realized the scarcity was often manufactured by panic, not by real shortage. The old sales trigger, act now or lose out, no longer pulls the same emotional lever.
This evolution is actually good for responsible ownership. It reduces waste, encourages planning, and pushes shooters to invest in skill rather than stockpiles. But for retailers and manufacturers, it's brutal. Demand is flatter, harder to stimulate, and less responsive to crisis-driven marketing. So what do the smart shops do? They pivot towards services, education, and experience. They sell training, they rent lanes, they host clinics, and they bundle value that ammunition pricing alone cannot match. But what happens to prices if consumers never rush back? The answer matters because if demand stays restrained, prices could remain low, but only until producers consolidate or cut capacity. And that brings us to the practical strategies that separate panic buyers from prepared shooters. Build your ammunition like you build your kit, with intention. I said this before, but let me break it down the professional way. Level 1. Carry ammunition. This is your premium defensive ammo, your top-tier hollow points or duty-grade loads, tested and verified in your carry firearm. Keep this in a small, rotated cache you actually use and replace. Quality, verified reliability, and tested performance are everything here. Level 2. Training ammunition. This is the workhorse stock for practice. Full metal jacket, inexpensive factory loads, or carefully loaded reloads designed for consistent feeding and accuracy. This is what you burn at the range to build skills without burning your budget. Level 3. Long-term reserve. Sealed, desiccated, stored smartly in climate-stable containers for years. This is the if everything goes sideways stock that you do not touch except in true emergencies. Here are the tactical moves the savviest shooters have adopted. Practice dry fire drills multiple times per week. Incorporate affordable training aids that simulate recoil and timing, and invest in reloading equipment if you plan to shoot heavy volumes. Remember, a basic single-stage press can pay for itself quickly if you reload even moderate volumes. And here's the kicker. Community swapping and local meetups continue to be a goldmine. Gun shows and direct trades often yield better unit pricing than online retail, and you avoid shipping delays and markup. What you're about to hear could save you hundreds of dollars and dozens of wasted range trips. Try a 30-day challenge. Commit to dry fire 5 times a week and 1 live fire session every 2 weeks. Track measurable improvements, and you'll see how training volume translates into competency far cheaper than blind live fire. Manufacturers are not sitting still. Many are cutting production runs, consolidating SKUs, and in some cases buying back excess inventory or offering factory direct bundles. Smart retailers are reinventing themselves by offering services, reloading workshops, trigger jobs, optic mounting, and even subscription-style training programs that create recurring revenue outside of ammunition sales. Here's a compact checklist you can use before you buy. 1. Verify need. Is this for carry, training, or reserve? 2. Test a single box. Never buy 1,000 rounds of a load you have not trialed in your firearm. 3. Consider reloading economics. Do the math based on component costs and your shooting volume. 4. Rotate stock. For carry ammo, implement a first-in, first-out routine, so your defensive loads are always fresh. 5. Invest in skill. The cheapest round is the one you do not waste. Practical tip: if you're on a tight budget, swap 1 live fire session per month for focused dry fire plus 1 hour of live fire diagnostics with a coach or trusted friend. You'll maintain accuracy and save cash. This next point will change how you see a gun shop forever.
If a store is only trying to move boxes of ammo at every price point and offers no training or community value, vote with your wallet and support the places that help you improve. That's where your dollars create long-term returns. If this breakdown gave you value, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this channel doesn't do hype, we do truth. Every week we go deep into firearms, gear, and the trends that shape how we shoot, train, and think. Stay smart, stay sharp, and as always, stay safe out there.